Okay, so now we have a very special presentation for you. Off the schedule. But we have a very special guest in the house. Mr. Harcourt Klinefelter. And our relationship goes back some years. I wrote a song about a woman named Viola and you've likely not heard her name before, sadly. But she, when she heard Dr. King's call for all people of good conscience to come to Selma to march on the Capitol, this white mother of 5 from Detroit, Michigan, heeded that call. And she got into her car and drove to Selma to volunteer to drive marchers between Selma and Montgomery, those who could not make the trip between the two cities. 50 miles between Selma and Montgomery. That was marched. Viola, on one of these trips between the two cities, her and a young black man, 19-year-old Leroy Moulton, was her driving companion. They were driving down Route 80 between the two cities, and a car full of Klansmen chased them down, drove them off the road, and assassinated Viola in cold blood on the side of the highway. Young Leroy Moulton fled into the woods to get help. Sadly, I just heard this week Leroy Moulton has passed, and I want to recognize his heroism as a young man marching and working for his right to voice and to vote. Harcourt was there in Montgomery at the time with Dr. King, and I'd like to invite him up here to share a bit of his story and history from a first-person perspective. And then I'd like to sing for you the song that I wrote for Viola. So, please welcome Harcourt. We may need a little extra volume on the microphone. Yep. There you go. Thanks.
Arlan en ik en een aantal dingen gezamenlijk. In de eerste plaats, wij zijn beide van New Jersey. New Jersey is aan de andere kant van dat hele brede rivier dat scheidt New York City van de staat New Jersey. Dus bijna muzikanten. Het is dit jaar 60 jaar geleden dat Martin Luther King op het 28e augustus heeft zijn beroemde rede I Have a Dream gemaakt. Het is 160 jaar geleden dat Nederland heeft slavernij afgeschaft. Maar de rijke slavenhouders waren royaal beloond en de slaven moeten voor 10 jaar gratis slavernijdiensten verrichten, voor zij waren werkelijk vrij. Dr. King Erste ding van zijn beweging was een eind te maken aan segregation, wettelijk apartheid. En met de Civil Rights Bill van 64 is dat een werkelijkheid. And then he began the campaign for the voting rights for zwart Amerikanen in het zuiden. He began the campaign in Selma, Alabama. And tijdens the campaign, Jimmy Lee Jackson, in een nachtdemonstratie, was vermoord door de politie toen hij probeerde zijn vader en moeder te beschermen in een café. En hij wou een mars maken te Montgomery. En dat was de aanleiding voor de Selma Mars. Er kwam tot de Edmund Pettus Bridge aan de buitenkant van Selma. En hij probeerde verder te gaan. Maar de police heeft hem met traangas, nauseagas, clubs, paarden aangevallen. 70 mensen waren zwaar gewond. Ze waren niet bij de dichtbij blanke ziekenhuis gebracht, maar moesten naar een zware ziekenhuis gaan. En dat was Bloody Sunday, en dat was op televisie. Ik kwam al net naar een uitzending over de Holocaust en mensen zeiden, het gebeurt hier. En ik dan roep voor mensen om naar Selma te komen om te proberen de mars voor te zetten. En een van de mensen dat ging naar Selma was een blanke dominee, Reverend James Reed van Boston. En hij ging daar. Nou, ik heb de uitzending over Bloody Sunday gemist. Maar er was een kleine artikel in de krant dat Reverend James Reed was klopt in de hoofd toen hij probeerde uit een zwarte café te komen. They hebben hem naar het ziekenhuis gebracht en hij leeg in coma. En na een paar dagen, hij is overleden. Zo, er was een memorial service, een herdenkingsdienst. And so I went to the herdenkingsdienst, and I had a telephone connection with Selma. And there was some dominee in Brown's Chapel, the heart from the Zora gemeenschap in Selma. And he zei, is een kruisingen hier geweest. En wij hebben mensen nodig for social resurrection. He said there's been a crucifixion here, and we need people for a social resurrection. And ik wist het was my beurt om te gaan. So I ging terug en ik gebeden half de nacht en neem 200 mensen met mij. Wij hebben 1500 kilometer gereden en kwam in Selma. En dat was mijn begin. En ik heb met mij meegebracht, toen ik heb een jaar gestudeerd in Engeland, draagbare band recorder. En ik begon nieuws te naming, and that door they gave in nor the radio and television stations. And indeed, Dagen I mussten nor the telephone cell do kill in it, and then the microphone from the telephone our car home with a power draden, fastmark and send the news over the radio and television station. So, Vikingen, my colleague Bill Stein and I, langs de hele Mars, dat uiteindelijk is gebeurd, en ging naar Montgomery. Nou, wij hebben de raiders opgenomen en alles. En at the end from the Mars, that began with 5,000 mensen, maar 50,000 mensen kwamen aan in Montgomery. The end from the middag, the National Guard, the US Army, heeft alles gestopt en ging naar huis. Nou, mensen die kwamen met hun auto's, they were terug in Selma, en de public transportatie was niet zo dat mensen konden gemakkelijk terugkomen. So mensen waren bezig de hele tijd mensen terug te brengen. Nou, tussen Selma en Montgomery, bijvoorbeeld, is Lowndes County, and that's where the meeste lynchings, moorden. En bijna 1000 lynchings, maar nooit één conviction. Nooit één was ooit schuldig gevonden. En van al de mensen op Mars, alleen 300 special mensen konden daarheen gaan. So, as you paid from what was net gezegd, Viola was basic mensen daarheen te brengen in de nacht. En als je was gezien met een zwarte man en nu is een blanke vrouw, dat was een uitnodiging voor een lynching. So, wij hadden een tijdelijk kantoor in een hotel on the hoek from the Capitol where the raiders were gemaakt. Later in the day, there were buiten the run from that hotel where there was geen outcome, it was a sort of storefront. There was assistant, there was the politie, and there was the FBI. They wisten altijd they had from J. Edgar Hoover and hoed on. Niemand in die dag droeg een hoed. And at any point, that was what was bound. So we were heel vulnerable, yeah, but okay. And at any point, and then krijgen wij een telefoontje vanuit Selma. En ik heb dit telefoontje opgenomen aan de recorder. En ik wil dit telefoontje laten horen.
And they marched. From among the thousands of stories from the most famous march in recent history came the tragic story of yet another person to die in the civil rights movement. Here is the announcement that first broke the news of this tragedy to the world.
Mr. Jose Williams, Yes?
This is Bill Stein at Southern Christian Leadership Conference Press Headquarters. I understand there has been a woman shot on the highway. Do you have anything to tell us on that?
Yes, another unfortunate incident has happened as the result of our march today, I'm sure. A young lady from Michigan that came down to participate in the demonstration, Miss LaRusa, Viola LaRusa, was riding along with one of our field workers, Leroy Moulton, returning back to Selma, Alabama for the mask meeting after a very successful march today. And Leroy reported that a car drove up from behind them. They were on a two-lane highway in Lowndes County just before you get to Dallas County. And the car drove up beside them and slowed its speed down to about their speed, and then he heard sound like something hit the door. The lady slumped over the wheel and her foot bashed the gas, and he was able to hold the car on to the shoulders of the road after he turned off the switch key. He said the lady slumped, and then he saw blood every place, and he jumped. Well, at first, he intended to get out of the car and try to stop for help, but he saw the same car go down the street and turn around. And then when it turned around, it came back, and he was frightened and fell down into the floor of the car, and they shined a light over in the car, but they never did get out of their car. Then they took off down the road. And he said, obviously, they must have seen him through some light or something move around, because after they got down the road, they stopped their car again. And he said some oncoming car was coming, and they took off. He got along beside the road and hailed, and no one would stop. But I can understand the fear in people's lives in Lowndes County, Alabama. And he said finally he just had to run here almost to Selma, Alabama before he could get some help. The coroner has pronounced the lady as being dead.
We could all sit down, rewrite the Constitution, or we could fight it out and start up a revolution. And either way's fine with me, still you refuse to see. You're blind to a resolution. Hold tight, I'm gonna fight, yes I told you. I hope you're with me, Viola. We can take this song, screaming from ocean to ocean. We can really set it off and start up big commotion. We take hands, but we have forgotten love's all we've got. And I believe that I can show you. Hold tight, I'm gonna fight, yes I told you. Stand tall, stand upright. hope you're with me. Harcourt. Thank you for sharing your story and Viola's story.